to you from the Radio for One studios in Franklin, Michigan. Welcome to the Detroit Cast.
Big fan.
A show not just free of charge, but free of FCC regulation.
Thank you for your support of the Detroit Cast.
Oh, there it is.
And without further delay, it's showtime. Please welcome the Detroit Cast. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jay.
Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Detroit Cast. Mike and Jay. Shalom, Big E. Jay, how are you?
Just fine, sir. Thank you for having me.
I would have it no other way. Exciting day today for us. Actually, really exciting for Big E.
Oh,
but
it's Big E Day for sure.
it is sort of Big E Day. Don't be scared off, people. It's not entirely. We've got an interview that we're really excited about coming up. The Road to Jonestown, Jim Jones and People's Temple by Jeff Gwynne. This book is amazing. So we're going to talk to him.
It's one of my favorites
shortly.
that we've done for the show, honest to God.
I thought it was going to be the male porn star that we interviewed that was your favorite. No?
I like this one, man.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's an interesting read for sure, and we look forward to having him on shortly. But before we do that, Big E has a big, exciting day today. The guys from Specs are here filming. How'd that go earlier, E? Did it go all right?
Yeah, I think it went all right.
You didn't embarrass us?
If anything, it was an embarrassment to Specs, but
Yeah.
I mean, not
Fair
you
enough.
guys. Not you guys. I did nothing but say good things about you, Mike.
It's funny
Long
because
reviews.
Jay didn't come out for some reason.
yeah, it is a reflection on his education, you know?
Yeah.
It's sort of, he's representing both of us.
Yeah.
Like everybody here wants that to work.
Yeah. We're all standing around, fingers crossed. God damn it, E! Please, E! Please make us look good.
I know. Well, put on my best clothes, I guess.
Yeah, very good.
Our
Sweatshirt
Detroit
looks
Cast
good.
merch. Good.
I know.
And then, so he's got this going on, which is cool for E as a proud alum. And then tonight he's at Mark Ridley's, and hopefully we get a good turnout there. He's going to be doing stand up. Exciting. It's not an easy club to get into, and E is part of the crew going up tonight at 7:30. Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle there in Royal Oak. 7:30 show. And if you're going to come out there, and I know a bunch of you are, you can call and make a reservation. That way they know how many bartenders and servers to have on hand. That would help them. So call them at 248-542-9900 for reservations, and hopefully we'll see you out there tonight.
Hey, as you know, one of the best ways to support the Detroit Cast is to support the sponsors that support us. So, if you want the best deal and the finest experience on the planet, drag your sorry ass to Zott Ford right now. New or pre-owned, car, truck, or SUV, purchase or lease, you want it, you got it, and at the very best price possible, only at Zott Ford and dealsinthed.com.
You want to know something really bad, Mike?
What?
What'd you do?
No, like, I realize this is going on, and there's some level of filming going on, and I still almost just went for my phone and started going through
Yeah.
Facebook and stuff.
It's incredible.
I literally went into my pocket, and I was like, can you wait 10 minutes?
I know. We have to remember that he's semi-retarded, and so that's what happens when you're semi-retarded. You do stuff like
know,
that.
dude. It's
Most
ridiculous.
times, if cameras were here, people would be like, we talked about it yesterday.
behavior.
Best behavior. Look at me working hard. I do a lot of cool shit here. Look at all the cool stuff I do.
He'd have a
He's
nice
on his
part,
fucking
nice
Facebook.
part in his plume, you know,
Yeah.
greased down. And
Yeah, did my hair all proper. I'm surprised he didn't come in with a suit and tie on today.
I should have. That would have been funny, actually. You know what? I didn't think
One
that
of
much
your dad's kick-ass suits from the 70s or
yeah,
something.
just wear it. Yeah,
Brown
right.
leather patches on the elbows.
Yeah.
So anyway, we caused. If you notice, Jay, I don't have a single story, like news-related story, in front of me today.
well, that doesn't bode well, Mike.
I know,
Do we do
like-
no show prep?
We did.
There's nothing going on in the world?
Well, we did. There is a lot going on in the world, but I think we caused quite a stir yesterday when we were discussing Big E's recent dating issues, and it generated so much email. And believe it or not, E, you have people supporting you.
I was
yeah.
actually shocked by people that reached out to me to try to like few guys trying to like give me advice and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I got more texts and like Facebook's messages or whatever yesterday than I have in a while.
Yeah.
So I think what we'd like to do in the spirit of Big E Day is kind of help him navigate a little bit to the extent we can this girlfriend issue. I understand that there were some developments last night, and obviously we have some input from the listeners.
Right.
So
yeah.
where do we start? Do we
Well,
start with the developments?
I
or-
would like to understand the chronology because I think some listeners have brought things up. I just want to be clear on this
Okay.
evening that happened with the $80 and then the $70 dinner. Okay, so I don't want you to retell the story,
Okay,
but I
that's
want to
fine.
understand. You buy the Tiger tickets. They
Right.
cost about $80.
Right.
You tell her, hey, we're going, I got these tickets. Or, you don't order her to. You guys had agreed to go.
Did you buy them because you wanted to take her, or did you buy them and then
No,
it just so happened she was available, so you were going to take her?
No. I
bought them with her in
buy
mind.
them knowing that because originally
he wants to get laid. That's
she,
it.
she was
Right.
not going to go to. She had not originally had did not originally have plans to go to the Chainsmokers. I would talk to her through the week, and I said we agreed that Friday was a day we could do something. I looked at the schedule. Who doesn't like to go to a Tiger game?
Okay, so chain smokers occurs. You guys stay up till 4 a.m. talking about hopes and dreams. You keep her up too late. She has to work. That next day is the Tiger game.
Yeah. Well,
So
she was
you-
just sick, is what it was. But
Oh, she
Okay.
didn't have to work.
she didn't have to work, but she was just
Okay.
sick.
Okay.
Tiger tickets had been purchased. $80 are invested, and then what? You go to dinner.
No, what happens is that she's just kind of feeling crappy. She has the friends that we would later hang out with are in town. People she doesn't get to see that often. And she asked me, like, would you be cool with leaving the Tiger game early to meet my friends? And I-
Leaving the game early.
right, and I was like, yeah.
He
you
will
know
have
what?
none of it. He's painted his face. He's not.
Yeah.
He's got the whole tiger
That's
thing
not
on his
true.
face. He's not leaving any shit early.
That's
Yeah.
not
So
true.
you
That's
say,
not,
you know what?
Whoa. That's not true.
Okay.
I actually, in the text, said, honestly, whatever, you know what? You can leave whenever. If you want to meet your friends, I'm cool with that. And then she
Whatever
said,
gets me closer to scoring some pussy, I'm willing to do.
Are you? She said, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "You know what, dude? The Tigers' bullpen is terrible anyway. Honestly, all we'd be doing is sitting in the cold, watching them probably blow the game. So I, okay with leaving early. I pick her up.
Maximum flexibility on his part.
Yeah.
I
We're
love it.
heading
So
to,
far, so good.
We're heading to the game.
So good so far. Excuse me.
Heading to the game, and we started talking about the timeline of when she wants to meet her friends, and I'm like, man, what are we gonna sit the game for 3 innings and then just go home? Like, and so at this point, I said, do you just want to miss the game? Like, we can miss this if
Okay.
you want. She
All right.
says yes.
Okay, she says yes. She
Offers the
expresses
money.
She offers the
So
money.
the game's off the table.
You say no. I'm not taking the
I'm
money
like,
at that point.
I did at first. No, you don't have to do that. You
You
know,
don't
But-
have to
blah, blah,
do
blah.
that.
She hands you $80.
No, she doesn't.
Okay,
Not
not at
right
that
away-
point.
not
Now
at that
was
point.
that was key for me. Now you go to dinner, you and her.
Yes.
Okay.
Before meeting the friends.
Before meeting the friends, you
Right.
go to dinner, $70 dinner. She picks up the tab. Okay, and I don't want to go through again. Well,
Okay.
I thought I should,
Okay.
and this and that. Okay, she picks up the tab, and then you head out and meet her friends. At which time she hands you the $80 and you take it.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what happened.
Okay,
Fine.
so she didn't hand you the $80 at the restaurant after
No.
paying the tab. It
No.
was a little bit later in the night.
It was later, and I will say I was not going to ask for it again. And even when she did, when she looked to get it over to me, I still think I was like, you don't have to. And then she kind of just put it in my hand. So
She put it in his hands.
Put it in there.
Placed it in
All right. Well, we usually do email at the end of the show. Given, as Mike says, the influx and interest in this issue, I think we should hit some emails now.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cheryl writes in, Team Big E, all caps. Listening to Poem 812 this morning on my way into work, I called bullshit on that girl. So she didn't feel well enough to go to the Tigers game, but she felt well enough to go out to dinner with her friends and hang out for several hours. My take on this, she already had decided she wasn't that into him, and thus she didn't want to be on a one-on-one date with him.
I disagree with that.
In order
but-
for her to not feel bad about standing him up, she made up the not feeling well excuse. Then had her friends meet him so that afterwards she could get them to tell her what she wanted to hear and make her feel better about not being that into him. Ooh, so she was using her friends kind of as a test. Like,
I really,
dude,
Okay, I'll let it
Okay.
go.
that is why she offered to pay for the tickets and pay for dinner. Then she used it against him. Classic manipulator. Be rid of her, E. Don't feel bad about this, Big E. She turned this all around on you to make you feel bad for her not being that into you. Best wishes, Big E.
I
Cheryl.
disagree with that 100%.
That is an interesting take.
I really disagree with that 100. For one, she absolutely was feeling crappy before the Chainsmokers.
well-
and here's the thing. It wasn't that she expressed that she wasn't that she was feeling as crappy. It was more like she didn't want to. You're feeling crappy, and now it wasn't.
I
that,
find this
well,
interesting.
No, no.
Cheryl is running to E's defense, and even in this moment,
Yeah.
he's
defending
still in
his
love.
lady.
Because
He's
I-
defending
well,
his
Dude,
lady.
I don't give a shit about her feeling. Hold on.
no,
Shut
it
up. Shut up. I don't give a shit about her feeling lousy. Whatever. Whether she did
was
or didn't
cold
is
out.
irrelevant.
Okay.
It's irrelevant. The friends thing, the reason I think Cheryl's wrong about her friends, A, this girl is not from Michigan. Well, she's from Michigan, but she doesn't live in Michigan. And so running in, it's not like you and I, like, oh, let's hook up on a Friday night and go grab some drinks. This is something where she's not going to see these friends very often, and they happen to be in town. So there's something there where it's like, okay, it's not something she can just do anytime. So it was more of a special thing that
was.
she was meeting up with these friends.
It was.
That's why it's like, well,
They were in
I
town
don't
for
think
a-
she was using them. They just happened to be in town.
They were in town
and
for
she
a,
was.
They were in town for a wedding. The thing was about her feeling sick. It's just that it was more like it was a chilly Friday night. You know how it's been around here. No, but if you're feeling you got a cold and
allergies,
you're
sure.
Dude, you're stuck on the sick thing. It's whatever.
Okay, fine.
Amy writes in with a different take. E's relationship fumbles. Gentlemen, As I was driving home last night, I listened to Poem 812 and was saddened to hear of E's relationship issues. After hearing how upbeat he was last week, to hearing his stumbles with the tickets, to the whole story coming out about the dinner and friends, I really genuinely feel bad for the guy whilst face palming. I have to wonder what was happening in the Fady household that E didn't at least pick up on some basic cues on how to be a gentleman. As a female, I will admit it is really nice when a guy picks up the tab, but it's not always necessary. You have to pay for some stuff to show you're not a total drain and a leech. I've picked up the tab on my dates and I've never thought less of the guy. But at the same time, that initial courting phase is so important.
Dude,
But
that's the whole story.
thing. That's
This-
it. You
this
could
is-
stop right here. We
Yeah.
could solve it right.
Look at- for
it's
one,
the
I don't know-
initial trying to get in her pants courting stage,
I-
whatever
I-
you want to call it.
Yeah.
I get it. Look, I've already said that I would have done it again. Having said that, to some of my defense, it's not like this is like I've not paid for any. You know, we went to a date where we went to a Piston game where I bought the tickets. We went, other places. I bought tickets. I bought, drinks at the concert. Stuff like. So it's not like I haven't paid for anything. But I've already said I would have done it again differently.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say. to
Dude,
that. I would have done it differently. I'm just saying.
I know.
it wasn't-
Do you even know why she was mad at you? When you ended up taking
Yes.
the $80, you do. Why was she mad at you?
I think, from what I can tell, I think it was more of a. It seemed like I was more of a selfish person.
Because you took the $80.
Yes.
So you learned nothing.
I don't know. Dude.
She's not. The $80 to her was absolutely
My God,
irrelevant.
I think you're wrong, but-
Dude. I'm telling you, the $80 that was irrelevant. She's an adult and a
$80
professional.
is irrelevant
to most
$80
people.
What I
is
really think is-
irrelevant. Shut up. $80 was irrelevant. So what she was pissed about is when we talked about it on the show, and Jay and I were trying to explain to you why you were wrong, and you, as you quote said, I put my toes in the sand, and you were standing your ground on this retarded argument that, fuck you, I would have done it again. I would have taken the $80 again from her. She was like, this guy's a moron. That's what she's mad about. It had nothing to
Okay.
do with the $80, dude.
Okay, well,
and
you
it's
know what?
important you understand that.
Okay, well, this is a different situation that we're in where someone's listening. Most people don't go on dates and then get to hear someone talk about the date for a half an hour afterwards on a public forum.
This is a unique opportunity for you, E. I
Yeah.
agree.
I-
I'm glad this happened.
And here's the thing. You're right. I get stubborn with you guys sometimes because I get beat on so much, and it's not a very good excuse. But sometimes you guys start
Mostly
getting,
deserved, though.
I understand that, but sometimes I get stubborn and I just dig my
Yeah.
heels in.
Your
and
feet in the
whatever.
sand, right?
Toes in the
And that's
sand.
kind of what I did that day. I think she also really was pretty bummed by remarks about her friends, which was a big time just a joke. I was more than happy to be there with her friends.
Was it a joke?
Here's my
Yes.
main.
Okay.
Here's my main takeaway on this. Yes, E should have paid for shit. I mean, that's just. It's so obvious. It should have been so obvious. You just don't do this in the courting phase. You don't allow her to pay for that shit. But I caution you, as Nick does. Nick writes a very well-reasoned, long email, which I can't get into the whole thing, but I will give it to you. I want to caution you that there's manipulation going on by this chick.
Oh,
you don't need the
man.
drama, dude. There could
Yes, he does.
There could very
What
well.
else does he have to do?
There could very, very well be some major underlying dramatic bullshit going on in this scenario that is going to really be a problem for you. in the
what?
Dude,
future.
he's talking about your girl. You gonna
I
take
know,
that,
and I
E?
really disagree with that. I'm not going to get into some of the personal stuff on the show, but she has some other stuff going in her life, and I really think that day she already was kind of in a bad mood. There was other things going on in her life that are a part of it, and then she had to hear this, and I think I came across as bad as I could have come across.
Well, obviously she
And
lacks. She has supreme lack of confidence in self. She has no self
That
worth.
is
I mean,
not
she's willing to
true.
date you.
That
I mean,
is
that
not
speaks
true.
volumes
Oh, fuck
about
you.
where she is. You know what I
That's
mean?
bullshit, and fuck you. But
Okay.
Well,
No offense,
lucky
by the
for
way. I didn't
you.
mean
Yeah.
any offense by that.
Of course.
Lucky for you, this happened, and Amy had a further comment here. She has a great suggestion that I think we can play off of and make this a great thing. Mick and Jew, I think the two of you, two of you need to become Henry Higgins to E's Eliza Doolittle, like in the book Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw,
Sure.
and the movie based on the book My Fair Lady, starring Audrey Hepburn. Sure. Of course, you remember that one.
Oh, I'm a huge Audrey Hepburn fan.
Teach the sneech how to be a gentleman, how to be polite, how to speak and write, and mold him into a semi-desirable guided date. This is going to require mastering the English language, regular grooming, and just basically attempting to understand women. You might even want to recruit a few listeners to critique and help better train E. I'd even volunteer to give him tips. I think that
I
has
just don't know
legs.
if he's welcome to suggestions. He's more likely
I'm
to
not
go,
going on
fuck
practice
you, I know what I'm
dates.
doing.
Right. I'm not going on no practice dates with listeners.
No?
I don't know.
See, he doesn't want to learn
well,
from
for one,
us.
we're talking. We're
E,
talking.
here's the thing. I think that you're in one spot. You're an infant when it comes to dating and women. because you've never had that. Like
Right.
we talked about yesterday, all the struggles that Jay and I went through. Well, we didn't really have many struggles with women, but if we did, say we were poor with the ladies back in the day, we would have fallen on our faces at 13 and 14
Right.
and 15. And so you're living that out now. And I think when it comes
know.
to the money thing, and I think where the disconnect is, your existence is one of, like, if you go out with TCG or Chubbs and you guys get a case of beer, you just split it.
Yeah, I'm not
You know what I mean?
quite in the range where I mean, it's not that I can't pay for things here and there, and I'm not making excuses, but you're right. I mean,
Here's the thing: you got to get used to.
I have a selfish existence.
You're always like, "Hey, I love to go out in the town, and that's what I have to offer to girls." Well, you better be ready to sack up and pay, then, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe I
You
can't. then.
Yeah,
Maybe I
exactly.
can't.
Maybe you're not as desirable out on the town
Which
guy
is
as
true,
you think.
Which is true. You're right. Actually,
Because
but if you remember when I said that, though, we were discussing whether I could have a sugar mama or not. Like, that's what we
Yeah.
were discussing. Like, in that scenario that we were talking about, it was like if a girl was on her own with a professional job, who would be better? That's
Yeah.
what that discussion was. And you're right. I don't have the reality is that's true. I don't have the.
Well,
I live a selfish
and
existence. I don't have the money.
You do. Well, you do. Stop saying you don't have the money, because you do. You have plenty of money
Okay,
to go
well, I
out
wanna
and
give up
spend.
my festivals
Dude,
and shit.
Okay. Well, okay. That speaks volumes too. Dude, you can easily every weekend of the year go out and drop $200 on a girl
You're
for dinner
right.
and a movie and stuff. You can do that every weekend.
That's
You're paid
true.
enough to do that. So. I think when you're dealing with someone like her, she's a professional, she's a woman, she's not 17 years old. And so the idea for someone like her, I can promise you this, when she goes out on a date with a guy, there would never be like
I know.
concern about $70 for dinner. There's like guys at our age or
I know, dude.
going out with this. No, you don't, obviously. It would be no big deal to go out with a group of 4
You
or
think
6
I
and
don't
go,
know,
I got dinner tonight.
Wait a
I
minute,
got
you
dinner.
wait, whoa,
like
whoa,
most
whoa.
people are capable of pulling something like that
Okay,
off.
You think I don't know that at 33 I don't make the exact money that probably a normal 33-year-old would make?
38, but whatever.
That's ridiculous.
And here's the problem, E. The overall problem is there's not a ton of characteristics about you. You're playing from behind, right out of the
Okay.
gate. Right? You agree?
You're behind the
Yeah.
8 ball a little bit.
Yeah,
know.
the deck is stacked against you out of the gate, so you need to do everything that you can. All the small things lead to big advances for you.
okay,
all
well,
the
you know.
Small things. So there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
he's got a lot
definitely.
of he's got a lot of negatives going against him. So anytime you can pick up a simple like check, nice move, like an $80 tab, a $70 ticket, whatever.
He's got to hit that pitch that the pitcher just misses out of the park every
Yes.
time. You
Yes.
just
That's
can't
a lot
take
of
that for a
pressure.
ball or swing and miss. You've got to whale that one out of the park.
Then maybe
Well-
maybe I'm just not dating isn't for me right now. Then maybe I just
Oh, you
Well-
don't sell yourself
go to
short.
concerts myself
Yeah.
and masturbate.
Well,
But I mean,
Jay and I took a few minutes to compile a list.
We were
boy.
kind
of-
enough.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
sure.
to try to help you out, we were able to compile a list of pros and cons to dating Big E.
Oh, God.
And so it shows you what you're up against. And so I think we were fair, and we
Sure
did our
this- yeah,
best
I'm
job
sure.
to compile a list of what's the problem with dating you and what the positive
Just
is.
food
So
for thoughty.
yeah,
Okay.
take it.
Have
Take
at
it.
it.
We're just trying to help.
It's all a learning process.
of course.
You want
So-
me to do the cons?
Yeah, let's start with the cons.
God.
Let's
Yeah,
start
let's
with
start
your
with the
cons.
cons, you know,
Okay.
get
Do we
those
have
out
enough
of the way.
time?
Cons to dating Big E. Greasy plume.
Yeah.
A sneech-like body, doughy and supple. He lives at home. He's broke, little to no future. He drives a piece of shit that might have a turd in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
His own.
He's loud, obnoxious, feeble-minded.
Yep.
I think is stating it kindly.
Yep.
He dresses like a 15-year-old boy.
Yep.
Peter Pan complex.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yes.
Selfish. I mean, speak up if you disagree with any of these. It's selfish. Poor
I-
hygiene. A hooker-riddled past.
I don't think
Very
I'm
true.
as selfish
I
as
knew
it's
he'd-
proclaimed on
yeah,
this show.
I knew
don't
he'd
believe
be all
that's
over
true.
that one.
Yeah.
I don't believe
Okay,
that's
well,
true.
some might say.
Okay.
A hooker-riddled past. He's rumored to frequent men's masturbation clubs.
One time.
Well,
doesn't-
we know
Whatever.
of one.
Those are the
We know of
rumors.
one.
Whether you did it once or 100 times, I don't know. Whatever.
He will most likely be an embarrassment in any public outing or family situation.
I disagree with
It's
that.
fair.
Masturbates at obscene levels.
Yeah, sure.
He won't go down on a girl.
Uh,
True or false?
E. Be honest.
Don't you dare lie.
I would if I had to, I guess, but
I
I don't.
had
I
to.
certainly don't want to.
There you go.
All right.
Mike.
In fairness, so that's just a small list of what we compiled cons
And
against. you.
again, we
so,
just want you to be aware of those so that
Okay.
you can smooth those out, right?
You guys
Yeah.
are great friends.
Yeah.
This is what.
And
good
so,
friends
but there
about.
are positives to dating you, E, and we've
Okay.
listed some of those as well.
Boy.
So the pros to dating Big E: can successfully maintain an erection. True.
Yes,
We've also got that you're a non-smoker.
it's true.
That's all we had time for right
Oh,
now.
that is
but
bullshit.
dude, that's a good start.
That is
That's a good
bullshit.
That's
There's
a
not
start.
very
more
good
than that?
start.
Yeah.
I'd say that's
Fine.
I didn't say it was a completed list, but that's
erections. Some people pay for those, and you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
all
I do those
natural.
on my own
Yeah.
right now.
Exactly. Anyway,
Wow.
E, so can you give us a quick update because we got to get to Jeff Gwynn with our
well,
interview here.
I think in the end it looks like that I did it my fair share of apologizing.
You went crawling back, E? Oh,
I did my it's Monday when we were having our text ring. I apologized. I kind of had a phone conversation with a mutual friend of the situation, and I honestly think my kind of outpouring yesterday, I think that got back, and I think that that helped. I do think that helped, and so we talked on the phone yesterday.
So
and
she listened to the show?
No,
Your girl? No.
someone else, the other person did.
Relayed it.
But I think
Secondhand, yeah.
Okay, but I think
all right.
we talked yesterday, and it was apparently, by the way, a date after this was never off the table. She was still willing to keep going out. She was just really frustrated at the situation. So that's where it stands right now. She's going away this weekend, and so am I. So
With a guy or
no,
okay,
And-
I didn't know.
and
So
so
I
am
asked.
I.
Are we sure?
But yes, she's going back home to South
I'm not going to find out
Carolina.
she was at a B&B with a gentleman this weekend, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So anyway, and then hopefully next week we'll go on another date, I guess. So.
Very good.
All right.
Maybe
Good
take-
lucky.
Take her to the Hamlin Pub. The Hamlin Pub supports the Detroit Cast, so let's make it a point to support them. With locations
so
in Rochester
ridiculous.
Hills, Clarkston, Chesterfield, and 2 in Shelby Township, you know there's one near you. The Hamlin Pubs have great food, ice cold drinks, tons of craft beers, plasma TVs, games, and great entertainment. Come on by or book your reservation today at hamlinpubs.com.
Hey, you ready to talk to Jeff Gwynn?
Yeah, does everybody know this story, Jonestown
yeah,
story?
I was just thinking in my head, like, should we set the table really quick about Jonestown for those that might be, I don't know, younger than 40,
Yeah.
who might not know this story? You want to do it? You want me to do it? We could
No,
tag
but
team it, whatever.
It's probably the most famous cult in U.S. history. Doomsday prophecy.
who was
essentially.
the Branch Davidian? Was
Oh,
that
sure, David Koresh.
David Koresh, yeah.
So this guy starts out as a Christian preacher and ends up with this huge following of people. We'll get into the details with the author about why they end up in Guyana.
Yeah,
But they do end up, they start out as a U.S.-based group, church.
Christian-based
and
to
meld
begin with.
into very, very cult-like existence led by Jim Jones.
Yeah.
They end up committing mass suicide, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I guess there's argument whether how many of the people were actually murdered, forced to do that or what. But in the end, 900 plus people die in the jungle of Guyana,
Including infants, small children.
Yeah, just whole families were there, and
Yeah.
and they drank the Kool-Aid, quote
That's-
unquote,
yeah.
is where that phrase comes from.
which was cyanide laced.
Yep.
You know, some sort of Kool-Aid-ish drink.
But this is a very cool book, man. Like we said, really enjoyed this. It's greatly detailed.
Yeah.
And really takes you down the road of how that can happen. It's just fascinating to think of how that can happen to normal people, U.S.-based people. You end up in a South American jungle killing yourself with Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and you just want to go automatically, how gullible and stupid you have to be to follow this guy. But anyway, as Jay said, it's a great book. And so let's give Jeff Gwynn a call.
Jeff Gwynn.
Jeff Gwynn, hey, it's
Yeah.
Mike and Jay from the Detroit Cast. How are you?
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, real good, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, doing well, man. I can't tell you, Jeff, how much we've enjoyed, both of us, the road to Jonestown, Jim Jones and the People's Temple. I don't think either of us have ever taken more notes on a book in our lives.
Well, I'm glad that you liked it. That helps.
I absolutely loved this book. It was
Yeah.
such a well-researched book. And even though you know exactly what's going to happen at the
Yeah.
end, it's like the slow burn of getting there was incredible.
Yeah, this must have taken forever to write, Jeff.
Well, most of the nonfiction books take about 3 years. You start writing after a year, but then you realize where the holes are, and you have to go back and do more research. So it pretty much takes the whole time, not just writing, but trying to double-check yourself, and then there's always new things that come up, too.
It's just unbelievable to me how many, like, inside fly on the wall, like, inner circle of Jim Jones meetings you have quotes from and almost knowing exactly what the discussions were about and how they went. How do you even get stuff like that?
Well, everything is firsthand. You try to find the people who were in the meetings, particularly the ones who haven't talked before, because they're often the ones that have the best insights. And the temple taped almost everything they did, and the FBI took control of all those tapes. So I used Freedom of Information Act with the FBI and ultimately got over 66,000 pages of material. And then, of course, you have to read all 66,000 and see what's worthwhile and what isn't. That was the downside.
Thus the 3-year prep time.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hey, there's excellent detail about Jones's upbringing, his teen years, his early preacher years. Get a great sense of the psychology that kind of got him on that road. One thing I wonder, though, is do you think that he was ever a believer in the Christian faith, or was the Christian church just a means to his end of manipulating, controlling the people that he did?
Well, we know now that when Jones was a child and he was growing up in the small rural Indiana farm town of Lynn, Indiana, they had 5 churches there, and he joined every one and would run between the services. It's possible, it's certainly likely, that as he grew older and became more cynical, he tried to use his position as a minister to advance his social and political aims. But as a kid and in his early ministry in Indianapolis, everything there that we can find seems to indicate that if he wasn't your typical Orthodox Christian believer, he always believed in reincarnation, for instance, he still got a great deal out of the church and agreed with some of the Christian aims.
One of the little notes in there, and you see it play up throughout his life, but it shows how early it started. And when Jim Jones was in school as a kid, I thought it was fascinating that you were saying that he wouldn't talk to people. Like, if people talked to him, he wouldn't even respond unless he started the conversation.
The thing that we found, and I was able to locate people who'd grown up with Jim Jones, some of his family members, cousins about the same age, who grew up just a couple doors down from him on Grant Street in Lynn. And they all agree on this, that from the moment he literally could toddle and talk, Jim Jones was only interested in being in charge. He'd never joined any games where he wasn't the one who was the boss. In school, if he wanted to say something, he would argue with the teachers, but he wasn't just going to be pulled into somebody else's conversation. He always had to dominate.
Such a weirdo in so many ways.
I know.
It's just incredible to read all these. Again, like Mike said, so many notes were taken during this. It was amazing. But one really interesting thing about him, though, and I wonder if you can think of another person in human history that was like this, where he turned out to be so evil, but yet he motivated people by finding the good in them and motivating them to do good things, such as he really had a pro-integration stance and had kind of this utopian dream of this socialist society. Do you think of anybody who had ever tried something like that or taken that tact?
Well, see, that was really a hard thing in writing the book. In every other way, Jim Jones is the typical demagogue that we've seen throughout history right up until today. Some of the things he did are absolutely typical. The first thing is always, I'm the only one who can solve these problems. I'm the only one who can lead you forward. The second thing is to convince your followers that anyone who disagrees in the slightest with anything is the enemy, not just someone with a disagreement, but the enemy. And the third thing he did that all demagogues do is he tried to silence them hearing any outside voices or differing opinions. But the big difference, and the thing I believe that led him to attract good, decent people, was that he always appealed to the best in others. He didn't say, follow me and you'll get more and we'll take it away from other people, or follow me and we'll protect what you have and won't let anybody get at it. He would simply say, we need a world where everybody is treated equally and respected equally, that it shouldn't matter involving race, gender, what you own or what you don't own. And so joining people's temples seemed to be an altruistic thing, and it appealed to those who really wanted to work towards making the world a better place, not to just see how much they could personally get out of following somebody. That enabled him to keep his followers longer. Even when he started acting really strange, they still had these examples of People's Temple as doing this good work.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, like, in the 1950s, I mean, America was a much different place. And for this white guy to be coming out and talking about all the horrible treatment to blacks in society, you know, with housing and jobs and assistance, and for him to really be at the forefront of that, I just wonder, though, was it a ploy for him to take advantage of them, or did he really believe this? It's hard to sense what he was in the end. If he was just totally someone taking advantage of everybody because he needed them, or if he really did believe in all this stuff. And you probably can't answer that, Jeff, but...
What's your sense?
Well, what I try to do in these books when there's somebody so complex, you know, so multidimensional, is put the facts out there and let the readers judge. I have my own opinion, which I'm glad to share,
Sure.
and that is his commitment to racial equality for a long time was not only genuine, but his burning motivation. We know from people who actually saw him do it that when he's still in his early teens, every Saturday he goes to the nearest big town, which is Richmond, Indiana, and preaches on street corners that segregation is wrong, racial prejudice is wrong. And, you know, all he's going to get out of it then is getting roughed up by, you know, some different white kids who want to shut him up. The thing with Jim Jones, though, with any demagogue, is even if they have rational, praiseworthy ideas that they want to push forward, sooner or later, and in Jones's case, I think sooner, the megalomania, the absolute urge to dominate and become powerful no matter what it takes, becomes more prevalent. Jones, like every other person who loses control in this way, I think came to believe that whatever he said, whatever he did, had to be right because it was him. So we have this great shining start in Indianapolis, but by the time he's in California, and certainly by the time he reaches Guyana, it's deteriorated into heavy drug use, taking sexual advantage of followers, and above all, figuring it's him against the rest of the world.
He wants to gain influence, you know, when he's starting these things, and especially when he moves to California, like you said, in Mendocino County. And he needs political leaders and that kind of stuff. But as hard as he worked his whole life, he didn't really, unless he was the main attraction and the main speaker, he wasn't all that interested. And so, you know, I thought it was fascinating, too, that he would send his wife in and she would do all the legwork and go to these political board meetings and town halls and study what the issues were and then report back to him what it was. And then he gets to swoop in like a hero and educated on everything, and people are really impressed. Of course, he gives his wife zero credit for any of it.
Well, Jim Jones never meant for anyone to get credit but him.
Yeah.
And it's not a completely unique trait. A lot of people get famous by taking advantage of the work other people do. But his own personal style, his charisma, his ability to attract people from all different backgrounds, that was what started setting him apart. And once politicians in California realized Jim Jones can deliver votes, and a lot of them, that was basically what they cared about. And by the time he was situated in San Francisco, just about every political leader in the state was sucking up to him, and he even had accolades from national politicians, Rosalind Carter and Walter Mondale among them.
Jerry Brown, too, right? Isn't Jerry Brown?
Very much so.
Yeah.
So Governor Brown now doesn't appear able to remember much about Jim Jones or
crazy.
People's Temple.
Hey, how did Jones pivot so starkly from a Christian pastor with hundreds, if not thousands, of followers to then preaching reincarnation, focusing things completely on himself? Were they just particularly gullible? Was he finding people in their stages of life and targeting certain people that he thought could be pliable enough? How did he pull this off is the million-dollar question.
Well, that's the big question, and there's two answers to it. And the first, Jones certainly got stranger and stranger, but he did it incrementally. So we can't think that the final Jim Jones we know, ranting, wanting not just to take his own life but everybody else's, was the side that he showed everyone most of the time. He gradually built up to what he became, but beyond that, he didn't make the same appeal to everyone who followed him. There were some who believed, yes, Jim, you are the reincarnation of Jesus or Lenin or Buddha, and everything you say is holy. There were a lot of them who thought he was full of it on all that stuff, but believed that he was a leader who could help bring about positive social change. And then there were all the people, Jones would call them the least among us, who'd never received any respect. They were bone poor, no chance of anything besides ghetto life. And here they are, and no matter how weird this man is, he and his church are raising them up. He sent their children to college paying full freight, ghetto kids that would have only learned from the street otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And they're treated with respect. Hell yes, they're willing to follow him anywhere he wants to go, including Guyana. So he hooks people in all kinds of ways, and he's quick enough, he's sharp enough to keep reminding everybody there, this is why you're part of People's Temple, even though their personal reasons may differ.
And there's no denying that he got stuff done. I mean, when you look at his early preachings and stuff through the city of Indianapolis, he was getting black people jobs. He was getting, like, their complaints were getting listened to from this white preacher, and he was able to go to political leaders and make stuff happen. And a lot of people credit him for absolutely changing the landscape as far as relationships between blacks and whites in just over a year.
I do know this. This is something I'm absolutely convinced of. If, in the process of driving, the caravan from Indiana to California, there'd been some kind of car wreck and Jim Jones was killed, he would be remembered today as one of the great leaders in the early civil rights movement.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it deserved that.
Yeah, I know that people point to Hitler and how much good he did for infrastructure in Germany. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it's interesting you should mention Hitler. As a young boy, Jones, like everybody else, was mesmerized by World War II, but he was the only kid in town who didn't want to play Allied soldier. He was fascinated by the Nazis.
Yeah.
Not the persecution of Jews, which he never would have agreed with, but he loved the idea of how Hitler could mesmerize huge audiences, and he even thought it was kind of admirable when Hitler committed suicide rather than let his enemies close in on him and humiliate him. Jones did not think decades ahead, but clearly he always had an eye out for the great grand gesture, and above all else he wanted to be remembered in history. By the time he and most of his followers are chased from the States to Guyana by investigative stories revealing the dark sides of Jones's ministry, he's already thinking in terms, what can I do? What is some lasting statement I can make? And in a sad, sick way, he achieved what he wanted. It's 39 years later. We're still talking about it.
Yeah. Well, he definitely groomed these people for a long time. It's always shocking to me when you see these, the things he would do, kind of the revival tent circuit and these healings and miracles and
With the chicken guts.
And it's just so sad that these people that are in this congregation are such believers, and they want to believe in God and goodness, and he's got spies in the audience that are listening into what their problems are so he can single them out and make it sound like a miracle, like there's no way Jim Jones could have known that. And then, like Jay mentioned, taking like chicken spare parts and kind of sleight of hand to make it, look like he just pulled some cancerous thing out of their body, and these people become huge followers. You want to discuss some of the tactics he used?
Well, one of the things I wanted to do in the book was make it very clear the tricks that Jim Jones used. And again, all of this is firsthand. I didn't get it from people who talked to someone who talked to someone. We actually have the testimony of those who took part. Mm. But what Jones was able to do, he realized that only a portion of his followers would buy into the whole miracle faith healings and so forth. But what he would tell the others is that you're using socialist pragmatism. This is what we have to do to get them into the church. Once they're here, we can make them good socialists, and we can all work towards setting the example everyone else will want to follow. So he's really trying to enlist as accomplices the same people who otherwise might have said, look, this is ridiculous. Who are you trying to fool? I'm out of here. instead, and this is the way his mind works, how brilliant he was. Now they're thinking, well, of course Jim is doing this. He's doing it for the betterment of everybody. It's a sacrifice to the larger goal.
Yeah, ends justifying the means.
Well, a lot of people in People's Temple who came and stayed and worked hard and sacrificed everything they had didn't think Jones was God, didn't think he could do miracles, but did believe, and they had proof, based on some of the church's accomplishments, that under his leadership, the world really was getting changed for the better, bit by bit.
Jeff, Tim Stone, I think I'm saying that right?
Stone, yeah.
Stone, yeah, became a central figure in the whole Jim Jones story. A lawyer that Jones met in California and actually needed very much. He was one of the rare people that Jones didn't belittle and kind of manipulate right off the bat because he needed his legal expertise and connections. How important was Tim Stone to Jones's ultimate undoing?
Tim Stone and his estranged wife, Grace, I think that was a big part of what happened, building up to the point where Jones would make one final fanatical gesture. Jones fathered a child by Grace. Tim and Grace had an open marriage. That's what Stone writes in his memoir.
But wasn't that really Jones's? His ego was hurt, kind of having to have Stone as an equal in some ways, and so he went and impregnated his wife to kind of, thumb his nose.
My feeling, and this again is based on all the research I did, Jones wanted to have the upper hand on everybody. Tim Stone clearly, because of his legal expertise, and he was just a brilliant man, still is, I think, enabled Jones to do a lot of the things he wanted to within legal limits that couldn't be challenged. And certainly impregnating Grace was a way to remind Tim Stone who the leader was, who was the top dog. Yes. But then when Grace ultimately fled People's Temple, having to leave her little boy behind, and then initiated legal proceedings to get him back, that ended up matching Jim Jones against Tim Stone, and Jones knew just how capable Stone was. That was one of the reasons they fled to Guyana, because there wasn't an extradition agreement between that country and the U.S.
One of the guys you mentioned in the book is Father Divine, who is a really kind of over-the-top. Jim Jones, one of the things he would do is he would wear toned-down clothes or hand-me-downs. But Father Divine was one of what we see nowadays, kind of the private jet guy with the jewelry. How important was he for Jim Jones when he was kind of learning how to be that kind of evangelist preacher guy?
Well, Jones's own philosophies and preachings, there wasn't a whole lot unique about those. And he copied Father Divine. In the 30s and 40s, Father Divine, a black minister, really set a pattern in that his followers were self-sustaining. They had their own businesses and their own farms that they called the Promised Land. But they worshipped Father Divine as the personification of God on earth. And there was nothing Jim Jones wanted more for himself. As a young minister, he would visit Father Divine, soaking up wisdom from him, and when Father Divine died, though his followers believed his spirit was merely going to pass to someone else,
sure,
Jones even made an unsuccessful attempt to take over Father Divine's followers and combine them with his. But except for the flashy clothes, Jones modeled his early control of People's Temple on things Father Divine did. So to understand Jones, it's necessary to have a better idea about Father Divine, and I try to do that in the book.
Didn't Jim Jones even at one point try to convince people that Father Divine had reincarnated inside Jim Jones to help convince people to join his flock?
He did that. Of course, you've got to remember, he also told people sometimes that Jesus had come now back into his body, that he was the reincarnation of Lenin, and even once or twice that he was an alien from another planet.
Sure.
And this sounds strange, obviously, and a lot of his followers thought it was. But again, they looked past what they thought were his quirks to believe more in the accomplishments and the goals of People's Temple.
When he's dealing in San Francisco and Los Angeles, the game has changed for him. He's got the involvement of doctors, lawyers, prominent, people in society that have more money than the poor that couldn't really contribute. So it was game changing. I'm just wondering, like, why did these people not see through some of this stuff? Like, the stuff he would control them with and say. It seems like you'd have to be a moron to believe that, he's selling $5 headshots of himself in church, and each one has been blessed by him personally and will save you from cancer or whatever. But it's only good for one time, so make sure you buy lots of them. Like, who's buying this?
You been to any fundamentalist revival meetings lately in America?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry.
It's not unusual. The things he was doing then are still being done today.
It's crazy. It's funny you say that, because your book, honestly, when I'm reading it, I see a lot of parallels with Scientology.
Well, you're certainly not the first one.
Yeah.
The whole idea of Jim Jones was do whatever it takes to convince all different kinds of people. He used a lot of his trickery and his tomfoolery to get one segment of people's temple. But again, it's important to understand, we're talking about all different kinds of people, and many of his followers didn't buy into that end of it at all. But in Jonestown, in that isolated area, and it's terrible jungle. I actually went in there with my photographer.
Really?
Jonestown's overgrown now, but we cut our way in with machetes.
Oh,
how eerie
and
was that?
So
How eerie was that to be there?
So horrible there that in all these years since, the Guyanese governments tried to emulate what Jones and his people did many times, get a working farm going there. All of those attempts have failed. It takes Jim Jones and about 1,000 Americans, most of them from the city, never even mowed a lawn, and under his leadership, they gouge out 800 acres and they build a working farm. That's the kind of leader he was even at the end.
When he started getting into the drugs, was that kind of a really pivotal moment as far as his paranoia levels and just the way he respected and treated people? Because it sounds like there's a real point there where things change for him.
And there is a real point. He started, like many people, I'm sure, that he just needed something to keep him going when he was tired and then help him sleep when he finally went to bed. But he was a man of excess, and he clearly became a drug addict and was abusing drugs. The big sign of it, if you want the moment when it probably turned around, in Redwood Valley in Northern California, a couple of years after the Temples moved there, suddenly Jim Jones starts wearing dark glasses in public all the time.
Yeah.
And in fact, today, if you look at most of the photos, he does that even indoors. And he told his followers it was because he had so much power within him that if they looked directly into his eyes, they'd just be consumed and burned
Scorched.
up.
They'd be scorched.
But the real reason was that the whites of his eyes were so red from amphetamine abuse that he had to hide them that way.
Yeah, and then soon after the drugs, of course, the next chapter is going to be the sex. And
right.
Of course Jim can justify that because he's doing this to the women. I mean, this is helping lift women up, and but that doesn't apply to everyone. Poor what was her name? Patty Cartmel.
Patty Cartmel.
Yeah, of course she's grossly obese, and so he doesn't want anything to do with her. So he put her in charge of what you've called his quote fuck schedule. And
that's right.
Yeah. So what?
So this all started with a Christian church. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah.
But now we're onto a fuck schedule.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
go on.
what was Patty's responsibility with the quote fuck schedule?
Patty Cartmel was one of the true believers in Jim Jones.
Yeah.
And someone he knew would do exactly what he wanted when he wanted. And when he starts singling out women within the congregation, within his following, to take into his bed, he's not going in Patty's direction. But it's important that she continue to worship him, and this is how the man's mind works. He has to do something that keeps her from thinking she should have sex with him, and at the same time makes her feel that he believes she is special.
Right.
And so he makes her the person who keeps the schedule, because he's got so many women to help. And his selling point to her is, this is even more important. You're the only one
Sure.
I can trust do this.
God, that guy had a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, he did, and the idea that you would buy that, you know,
Yeah.
there was one girl too who called him out. A black woman, was it Janelle Smart?
Wanell Smart.
Wanell Smart, yeah, who was like, man, why you only?
She said to him, "Why is it only white women?" and he said, "It's because white people, need to be brought down a peg. Black people don't
Yeah.
have that problem, so that's why it's only white people."
He's always ready with an
Dude,
answer.
he
isn't
is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
He's always ready on the spot with an answer to justify no matter how absurd the act is he's doing.
Well, I guarantee you, if he were on this program now instead of me and talking to you two,
Yeah.
he would be finding some way that, even if it didn't work, might come close to convincing you that he wasn't all that bad after all, and maybe
Yeah.
he was doing
Yeah.
the things he should
Yeah.
have.
Well, he wasn't afraid of the gay sex either. And
No, he wasn't.
he almost used that as a weapon. If I read your book properly, where sometimes he would bang these men to humble them, like keep them in
There's
check.
There's an
That's
angle.
what he would say. And once he was arrested in a men's room in an L.A. movie theater.
Yeah.
And afterward, he was so worried that his congregation might find out. They never did, but he was so worried that he started preaching that everyone is gay. And if you say you're not gay, then you're just denying the obvious. So he's preparing the way in case it came out.
Yeah.
This was a brilliant man. Sick, he did disgusting things, but Jesus, he knew how to manipulate and control everything.
When they had moved to Guyana, you touched on the bathroom incident at the L.A. movie theater. I think it was Dirty Harry he was seeing.
And Mike keeps coming back to this.
Yeah, well, it's kind of important because, and I'd love for you to explain like how he got the doctor's help in explaining that really quick.
Well, Jones
Sorry.
carefully tried to have his following include physicians, lawyers, prominent people. Not only could he have a doctor's excuse, oh no, he really wasn't masturbating in that men's room in front of a cop, he was jumping up and down to relieve pressure on his back.
Yeah, sure. Makes
Well,
perfect sense.
we laugh, but here you've got, an MD, a guy with his medical degree,
Yeah.
willing to put that in writing for the court.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how he got all his drugs. It's not like he had to steal them. He could always get prescriptions for anything he wanted.
I wasn't just going for that salacious moment because,
Yeah,
well, sort of I was. But it did lead to an article that was written by a monthly publication in San Francisco. I can't remember. It was New something. I can't remember the name of the publication.
New West.
New West. And that was really the first publication that went after Jim Jones. How game-changing for him and his operation there in Guyana was that story?
Well, he's still in San Francisco at the time, and there had been previous attempts at investigative reporting that hadn't worked. But this time, a couple excellent reporters went deep into the whole background of People's Temple, and they produced a story that was backed up in every sense. They found defectors from the temple who were willing to finally talk, let their names be used. And they nailed down the fact that there was physical abuse of many of the people in the temple by Jones, that he had sex with lots of followers, sometimes involuntarily on their part, that there were millions of dollars in overseas business accounts. And it was at this point that all the politicians who'd been backing Jones, who wanted his praise and his help, start moving away from him. So there's a combination of that and Tim Stone and the lawsuits about John Victor coming to a head in American courts. That's when Jones decided he's getting out of America. He's going to Guyana, where they can't reach him legally and where somehow there can be some big final statement that will show his disdain for all his enemies.
Once he gets to Guyana, and you talk about the hard work that his followers put in, and the changes that are going on in the psychology of the people at that point, and in Jim Jones and his dependence on drugs and so forth. But what are the final pressure points that then lead to this ultimate crescendo of the poisoning?
Well, in the last 18 months of his life, when Jones has his followers isolated in that dense jungle, he's really abusing drugs, amphetamines most of all. His paranoia, which has always been there, is really ramped up. And they don't have any other outside voices. When Jones is telling them at any minute now, U.S. government, the CIA, the FBI, or paid mercenaries are coming in to slaughter them, they gradually, most of them, begin to believe that's possible. And then, all at once, a couple things happen in late 1978. The court cases Tim Stone is pursuing to get custody of John Victor Stone back. The little boy is in Jonestown with Jim Jones. There is a congressman named Leo Ryan from the Bay Area who's heard from constituents that their relatives may be held against their will in Jonestown, and Ryan wants to come over to Guyana and personally inspect. Jonestown's running at a deficit because in a space that at the moment could maybe reasonably survive and supply 100 people, now there's almost 1,000. It's going bad, and Jones knows it. He can't stand the idea that ultimately he's going to be humiliated, brought down, and so he's looking for one grand final gesture, even as his followers are being worked into exhaustion and have less and less energy to be able to oppose anything he might want to do, no matter how crazy.
I found Tim Carter really intriguing, and you focus on him in the last part of the book in explaining the mass suicide. And he was a guy, a congregant who had a family there, had a wife and a young child. Did you interview him personally?
I spent 4 days with Tim, where he lives now, and we've been in touch constantly ever since.
That must have been so hard for him to remember those things and vividly
Tim
describe
Carter
them.
is one of the bravest, most decent human beings I've ever met in my life. And through him and some of the other Jonestown and People's Temple survivors, that's how I came to know and respect the other side of the story.
Yeah.
That day when 900 people died, the image we have is just all of them lining up sheep-like to drink the Kool-Aid with the poison in it. Of course, it wasn't Kool-Aid. And we know now, not just from Tim's first-person testimony, he was there and watching, but tapes that Jones actually made of the whole thing, and you can listen to them online.
They're chilling. It's a great word.
There's
incredible.
some like Patty Cartmill, who anything Jim wants because he's God, yes, thank you, Jim. There's hundreds of children, we're talking infants in arms, having this poison injected into their mouths with syringes. That's not by their choice. Then you have a large group of people who are too exhausted to argue, and we know from the Guyanese autopsies, and I went to Guyana and saw these myself, that at least 4 dozen, maybe as many as a couple hundred people wouldn't do it, but there were armed guards and they were held down and forcibly injected. It wasn't mass suicide, it was mass murder.
Yeah. How did Tim make it out?
Tim was actually saw his wife and his 15-month-old son die from the poison. But he was pulled out of line and told that Jim has a job for you. Jones wanted Tim Carter and 2 other men to take suitcases full of money somehow through the jungle and deliver it to the Soviet embassy in the Georgetown, the capital, as a further act of defiance, rubbing it in the noses of the U.S. government.
Wasn't it money and gold?
Yeah.
They had to take the gold out of the suitcases because it was too heavy and would have torn the bottoms out.
I guess we should talk about the fateful day that I believe it was November 18th that the congressman and a bunch of people, some media members flew into town, and boy, I bet they wish they wouldn't have.
Well, it really, something I had not known anything about, and I only found this out later through a lot of first-person testimony, including from Tim Carter, who was there that day. Leo Ryan, some members of the media, and some concerned relatives come into Jonestown on the late afternoon of Friday, November 17th. By early afternoon the next day, Saturday the 18th, only 15 out of more than 900 people there have told Leo Ryan, yes, we want to go. And Ryan actually tells other people in Jonestown, Jim Jones has proved his point to me. If these few are the only ones that want to leave, then I don't believe anybody's being held here against their will. He was going to take them back to the States, and he was going to say that Jim Jones is not running some kind of concentration camp. But to Jim Jones, even 15 people leaving was too much. He saw this as just the beginning. If they got to go, then more people might think they wanted to leave, and finally here's Jim Jones all by himself in the jungle as a laughingstock. So he orders Ryan killed, along with most members of the media and other people grievously wounded in a shooting at an airstrip 6 miles from Jonestown. And then he gathers everybody else in the pavilion, says, the Army's coming after us any moment now. It's time for a revolutionary act. He tells them it's not suicide. This is how they show their disdain.
Weren't there Guyanese officials or soldiers at that airport at the time dealing with, I don't know, a broken down plane or something on the runway, and who saw this all unfold and chose not to intervene? Why wouldn't they try to help those people?
Well, as they said afterwards, it was white people shooting white people. They didn't want to get involved because they thought somehow white people would blame them.
Yeah, hold them responsible. Well, when word trickles back to Jones, then that the congressman is dead, at that point he knows it's game over for him. That it's just a matter of time before it all collapses, and that's when the syringes come out. And it doesn't sound like cyanide is a very pleasurable way to die.
Death by cyanide is one of the worst deaths possible. The poison does is it keeps the body from being able to accept oxygen. And so basically you smother. It takes a while. You go into convulsions, you froth at the mouth, and when the first infants start doing this in front of everyone else, and if you hear the tape, Jones immediately starts saying over the loudspeaker system, they're not in pain, it's just a little bitter tasting, this will be easy, it's just stepping over. But as more and more people are suffering greatly, then he starts screaming, this is not the way for socialists to act. And that, of course, is when the armed guards come in. It was a terrible way to die. And most of the people who died that day went to their deaths in great suffering and trying not to do it, but they had no choice at that point.
And Jones himself ends up with a gunshot to the head. Do we know if that was self-inflicted or if he ordered someone to do it?
The tape runs out before that, but we know out of 900-plus bodies in Jonestown, only 2 were dead, gunshot wound to the head, Jones and his personal nurse, Annie Moore. There's no way to tell. My personal opinion, based on everything I've learned about both Jones and Annie Moore, is that he didn't want to suffer the way everyone else was, so she was given the honor of killing him and then taking her own life in the same way. She was one of the ones who believed that Jim Jones was, in fact, divine and anything that he wanted was right.
We all know the phrase, don't drink the Kool-Aid, and it's incredible that that's kind of where it started.
See, that's the thing. That phrase is wrong for so many reasons. First of all, it wasn't Kool-Aid. It was a cheap knockoff called Flavor Aid. Awful. And second, don't drink the Kool-Aid over 39 years has come to mean don't be an idiot, don't blindly follow a leader who's, obviously wrong.
Yeah.
And the people who died that day, most of them, weren't dying just because they bought into everything Jim Jones said. I mean, some died because they were too exhausted to resist. Many died because they were forcibly injected. So the phrase itself is absolutely wrong, and frankly, it's disrespectful to good and decent people who are trying to devote their lives to making the world better for everybody.
Well, hey, Jeff, there's been obviously a lot written about this, but I have a hard time believing there's a more comprehensive, well-researched account of Jones' youth and rise to power and death.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was going to happen the whole time, as does everybody else as they read, but I found the slow burn aspect of it just so interesting and just compelling. So
I was pissed, but there's a compliment in here. It's one of those books where you can't just skip like the first 8 chapters.
Sure.
Like you can when reading a lot of books. It's one of those that just builds the whole way through. It's brilliantly written, Jeff. Jeff Gwynne, The Road to Jonestown, Jim Jones, and People's Temple. We really hope you do well with it. And I know you wrote an extensive book on Manson as well. I'd love to talk to you about that sometime.
Anytime you'd like to. I really appreciate this chance to talk about the current book.
Thank you, Jeff.
For sure. I hope you do well with it. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Did you read the part?
Dirty Harry 3 times.
Well, dude, I swear to God, there was a bridge.
Back to that Dirty Harry movie when he was whacking off.
No, there was a bridge to the Dirty
You
Harry
literally
thing.
came back to that 3 times.
Well, here's why. I was using that as the bridge because I thought the Dirty Harry thing where he was jacking off, he was in this theater and they knew that a lot of gay activity was going on there. And so cops had plain clothes in there trying to do it. And Jim Jones had signaled to a cop and then went into the bathroom. The cop followed him in there and Jones is just fucking jacking it for him. He's arrested. He's worried that this story's going to get out and it's hanging there.
That's one of the many things, though. The screws were tightening all around it.
Right.
That's one of 8 different things, and you chose to bring it back to that 3 different times.
But I loved the idea of it going to
The
your
doctor.
doctor and getting him to sign off like, oh, yeah, no. He had to be nude and jumping up and down.
Jumping up and down.
Sure. What else are you going to say? How else do you explain jacking off in front of a cop in a men's bathroom?
Yeah, he had to manipulate his waist region to alleviate the pain on his back. I don't know. Jump up and down. Does he jump up and down when he whacks off? Is that,
I don't know.
Where did that come from?
It was probably good enough for well, whatever. I guess that's a good enough excuse. The other thing, though, is when when he's worried about defectors, he starts using corporal punishment and beatings. Mm-hmm. And did you read about poor Peter?
Peter, the pedophile.
Peter Wotherspoon.
Yeah.
Boy, who's admittedly like, dude, I just love fucking kids. Like that's his thing. He's open
and they
about
took him
it.
in and they made him sign a statement that he won't fuck any of the kids. He's like, yes, I will. I'll sign that. I'll definitely attest to that. And then,
rough day.
lo and behold, Peter goes and grabs a little
Peter, please, Peter.
And he gets caught, so they punish him by making him take his cock and balls out, laying it on a table,
Dude, like-
and whacking it with a rubber hose, right?
Swollen to numerous times its normal size. Beat the shit with a rubber hose. Just fucking
Just a little CBT.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, right? And then they castrated him. Some of the other stuff that he would do, like make these people that were in his inner circle sign like a 3x5 card, and then he would storm away, and they just knew that if at any point he wanted, he could write anything he wanted on that card and have their signature,
Well,
basically
I think he did more
signing
than
it
that.
off
He
on it.
took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, covered up everything except the bottom signature line, made him sign it. So it probably said, I admit I murdered my daughter.
Yeah.
I
Killed someone,
I
threw him
did that.
overboard.
Yeah, my own free will. I'm guilty of that. And then they're just signing this thing, and
Yeah.
it's in the file. And they know it's something bad, and so it's sort of that sort of does remind you of Scientology, just this whole, we've got something on you kind of thing.
Yep. And lastly, Janelle Smart, that girl, when she was like, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm out. She's the one that was like, why aren't you banging any black chicks? Why only white chicks? And but she wants to leave, and he's like, okay, no problem. Hold on, I'll be right back. Comes out with a gun and makes her grab the gun so that her fingerprints are on it.
Just grab it.
There you go. Put your fingerprints all over that, and then puts it in a Ziploc bag and seals it up. Puts that away.
Diabolical, man.
It's just fucking. We're gonna need to do that to E. Think we could do that to E?
Yes, I do think we could do
E,
that.
hold this for a second, just in case.
It's an incredible book.
Yeah.
Like we said, just so well researched and detailed. And you just, even though you know where it's going the whole time, it's so fascinating.
I know.
But I think he said at some point, and now talking with him, I do feel that there was a real sense of him wanting to tell the victimhood of these people and express that these people really were good people, but mostly victims.
Stupid.
I mean, he says at some point, the great irony was that the Jonestown deaths were not this great revolutionary gesture as it was portrayed to them or believed by them, but instead is the ultimate example of human gullibility.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's sad, isn't it?
It is.
But and I know a lot of people go, well, why would they? Why would you do that? I'm one of them. Going, what, dude? You're smart. What are you doing? One of the ways he would get them to do stuff like that was by signing over property, like he took everything from them. I'll provide everything for you, but I have absolute control. Your Social Security, your pensions. So these people had nothing. So the idea of a black person in 1970 with jack shit on the planet, don't have a pension or anything anymore, and you're just going to leave.
Yeah, you're
go,
totally
go
reliant,
where?
and you're being mind fucked left
Yeah.
and right. You're being told news that isn't true.
Yep.
He's being portrayed as God. It's just very confusing, I'm sure, over time. Just a steady drip of that shit. You'll look back 10 years later and
Poor people. I hope these people rot in hell. These evangelists that take such horrible advantage of the old and desperate and dumb and gullible and believers. Like, it's just horrible. It's horrible to look from the outside and see it going on. And anyway, The book, again, lastly, is The Road to Jonestown, Jim Jones and People's Temple by Jeff Gwynne. It's fabulous. If you're interested, there's tons more in here we didn't get to, so you'll really enjoy the book.
The Detroit Cast continues after this short break.
Hey friends, it's Steve Gabar, the general manager at Zotford and Holly and DealsInTheD.com. Spring is here and we want to celebrate by 1, encouraging Big E to shower more often, 2, Mike to eat less often, 3, Jay to be smug way less often, and 4, by offering you some amazing deals on Ford Fusions and Ford Escapes. I can't promise the first 3 will happen, but I got number 4 in the bag. Lease a 17 Ford Fusion or a 17 Ford Escape for just $122 per month, and that's only 24 months. See our superlative deals and massive inventory at DealsInTheD.com.
Detroitcast continues now, bitches. Here's Mike and Jay.
I don't know what the Detroitcast is.
You're not alone. Not many people do. Welcome back to the Detroitcast. Mike and Jay. Big E, of course, is here as well. And, all right, I guess we're done with Big E Day.
Oh, yeah.
Officially.
Let's move on.
You know, got
Had
the interview
enough
to
of that
break
asshole.
things up. Yeah. God, I really had a weird moment upstairs during the break. I had to relieve myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes when you got some dried something on the tip of your dong, you know, I don't know, something happened the night before, and you can send an errant spray. Dude, that happened to me. You probably don't.
What's the classic scene? Me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah, with
Jim
the
Carrey
picture.
holding the picture down, trying to aim it back into the toilet.
Redirected into
Yeah.
the toilet. You probably don't deal with it. I mean, yours, I'm assuming, hangs over the bowl a couple inches from the
I'm
water.
getting pretty sick of the big dick jokes. Okay?
Well,
I'm
just-
so I've had enough.
Anyway, you
he's
might be
got a
able to
big
relate
dick.
to
Anytime
this.
you want to, anytime you want to refute it and say you have a smaller penis than we're
he's
saying,
got
that'll
a big dick.
I'm just saying, if the helmet of your member like just grazes the water or is an
Why
inch
do
or
I have
two
to
off
be
the
the big dick
water,
guy?
I don't know.
You
Why
said
can't
you
I be the
were.
tarded one? I never said
take-
I was. Frankly, that's a myth. Go back to that episode, and you guys were the ones, fuck yes, I'm bigger than a Sharpie. And I just simply reiterated, yeah, dude, of course. You got a hard-on bigger than a Sharpie? I hope you have
I'll
a hard-on
switch
bigger than a
places.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
switch
whatever.
places.
Okay, so you're 3 inches above the water. My point is that yours is probably hanging over the lip of the bowl, where for some of us, you know, you really have to lean in there to get it to hang over that if you're not paying attention. And
You
you're
have a micro.
No, it's not a micro, but you're really counting on the
Can you get
force.
2 fingers on it?
The force of the stream to make up for, you know, kind of jumping across the pond, you know,
Sure.
the little river there. And so for whatever reason, I was just hanging back, and I expected it to do its normal 1 foot launch into the bowl, and it just like shot right, and then it like shot down, and I like hit the lip, and then it's dripping down the side. I'm like,
Now I got you.
where the hell did this come from? This like, there was nothing that should have been going on. I just didn't understand it.
Something wrong with your urethra?
I don't know. I'm gonna have Beth get a pinky in there again and try to loosen that
Do you
thing
think
up.
that never mind. Actually,
No.
Snake it out a little bit?
Yeah, he had something he had a joke that he was gonna deliver there, and I really want to hear what it was. Go ahead. E.
Oh, okay. That was a setup for an E
Well,
softball.
he definitely had something, and then he sort of backed off. I don't know why. So what?
Because it really was so corny and that.
No.
So dumb.
Which part were you referring to? I'll reset it up for you. Which part were you going to comment
I
on?
was. You said you were going to need Beth to get out.
Yeah, okay. All
And I was
right. Stay there. I might need Beth to get in there with her pinky or something and widen that urethra out for me.
I was gonna say. Do you think Beth needs to get in there for a mouth inspection?
So you're going on Ridley's tonight, huh?
Yeah.
Where's the laughter?
Yeah, we need a laugh track on this show.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys don't, but wouldn't mind being able to at least pull something up for myself once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you need it. I mean, you're not getting a ton of support in here with that.
Well, it's like sitcoms do that, so you get the Pavlovian reaction
Yeah.
from the audience, right?
Oh,
It's like,
everyone's
they're-
laughing.
They're laughing, so that's funny. So I'll laugh too. Yeah, that's a funny show. Yeah, everybody laughed at that show.
Yeah.
no, that was a good joke. E. That was not bad. You know, I would like her to get in with a mouth inspection.
But what is a mouth inspection?
I-
E?
I
I mean,
yeah, E, what is it?
I don't know, like. Does
think
that have
about
a
it.
separate
I was thinking
meaning?
that she
Like,
needs to insist.
did she what? Into the mic, you son of a bitch.
I guess that maybe she needs to inspect the penis.
No, I understand
with
that.
her
Yeah.
mouth.
But is there a double meaning of mouth inspection or something that,
I
that
really
we
just-
should find clever? Or
Like maybe if you were talking about your dentist or something, I would see like a mouth inspection.
Right.
Like, oh, my dentist, I could see her for a mouth inspection.
I
Like,
just meant you wanted her to sucking your day. A blow.
well, yeah, why didn't you just say that? Like, well, I hope you get a blowjob or something, and be like, yeah, me too.
Well, you said you needed her to look at it for like a medical purposes, so it was like a mouth inspection.
Well, I'll let her know that you're recommending that she blow me, and you know that's the best I can offer you.
classy,
Cool.
E, real classy.
Yeah.
Way to take it down to the gutter. Okay.
That is my girlfriend. E. Christ sakes.
Gentlemen,
Gonna find our best friend Doug, and then we're gonna give him a best friend hug. Doug, oh, Doug, Doug.
Buying or selling a home can be one of the most stressful times of a person's life. Doug Steinert at Century 21 Campbell wants to make the sale of your old home or the purchase of your dream home as stress-free as possible. Call Douglas at 248. The son of a bitch can't stop giggling over here.
That's how he said it. He's just like, that is my girlfriend. Like, as if he cared.
It's being fanboy again.
Do you want to
Call
apologize?
Douglas. Do we, okay.
I'm sorry,
We
but-
reached this read to a halt.
Yeah.
Do you
I'm
want
sorry.
to finish now?
I'm sorry, Bethany, if you're listening.
No, she hates Bethany. Do not say
Oh,
that.
is that a real name?
Her
I was
name's
just
Elizabeth,
joking.
but she doesn't like
I was just joking.
Bethany or Elizabeth.
Shit, I was just joking to be funny.
Yeah, don't do that,
How about
dude.
Liz?
It's like Charlie LaDuff. Don't
Yeah.
call
Liz.
him Chuck.
Lizzie?
I think I called him Chuck once. And it ground the conversation to a halt. It was like, no.
All right.
It is not Chuck. It's Charlie. I was like, all right, Chuck,
Beth,
settle down, poops.
I apologize, Beth, for insinuating that Mike said he had a situation with his penis, and my suggestion was that you should blow him. I apologize. That was insensitive of me.
It wasn't insensitive. It was more crude.
Oh.
It was.
Well, for
It's
anyone I
disrespectful,
gutter.
I would say, and
Thoughts
crude.
and prayers, obviously. Anyone I offended, I'm sorry. Maybe I should miss tomorrow's show even. Just
I think it's
think
just
about
Beth.
it.
Just Beth. It's there's no one in the audience that was going to be offended by your statement.
I don't know.
And the fact is, it was irrelevant because you know that I'm always fishing for a blowjob from Beth, so it doesn't even need to be brought up. It's just
a
it's
redundancy.
just there.
Well, when
Yeah.
you get your next one, you can thank me.
Sure. Yeah, you'll be the first thing on my mind, E.
Can't even pull off your own blowjob. You think you're going to get Mike a blowjob?
Yeah, do not piggyback my blowjob, E.
Yeah.
It's your own blowjob.
Maybe he could buy you one with a TV. Hey, call Douglas at 248-765-1781 and let him and the team at Century 21 Campbell make your home purchasing dreams a reality. Call Douglas at 248-765-1781. Ask for fellow Detroit Cast listener Doug Steinert.
Remember Simon?
I do remember Simon. It's the
Oh,
huge bunny
man.
rabbit. What happened to that son of a bitch?
man.
Did we get to the bottom of it?
Sort of.
So Simon, of course, is the enormous bunny rabbit who's being transported across the pond to be purchased by a Chicago billionaire or a big, well-known Chicagoite.
That's what they said, but I read. We know who it is now,
We
and it's
do?
like they said it's a megastar. Didn't they say it like a megastar?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Look at Simon. Look
Do you know
at
what-
the size of that bunny rabbit?
See the one in the red there that's holding Simon?
I do.
Do you
see
know what
her.
she used to do?
Kind of looks like an old stripper, but
Doctor or lawyer?
No, she was a former Playboy bunny.
really.
Yes.
So
Yep.
is this going to Hugh?
No.
Somebody guessed that via email. They said, I bet it's Hugh Hefner. That's where Playboy originally was. Bunny,
Oh yeah, the
you know.
Chicago Club.
Yeah.
Sure.
How the mighty have fallen.
That's not bad. She's like 70, dude.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Whatever. Anyway, so she apparently has gotten a 5-figure settlement from the airlines. We don't know the exact number. Everything's closed.
It's either
One of those
10,000 or 99,000.
Exactly. I don't know what that
That's a
would be
lot of
worth to
money
her.
for a bunny either way.
Yeah, but that's Simon.
I think I paid.
Look at big
I think I
boy.
paid $12 for my bun.
Really?
I think so.
So he was expected to outgrow his father. Remember his dad?
His father named Damien or some shit.
No, it's Darius.
Darius.
Yeah, Darius. There. You want to see his parents?
Yes.
Simon's parents?
Majestic Beast. no
There's
doubt.
his mom, Honey, and his dad, Darius.
Look at the size
Yeah,
of these
these are
bun
good
buns.
boys and girls. Look at that guy.
Oh, I could see them producing a very large brood.
Yep, that's them. And that is
Ha!
is Honey wearing a hat?
Honey has a little
Honey's
babushka
got
on.
Oh my God, Honey's got a little bonnet on. Look at that poops! It's a good girl and a good boy. So here's what happened, dude. So he died, and I don't think this is coincidence, but at Chicago O'Hare
United.
Airport. Yeah, I know. He was placed in a little bit of a refrigerator on accident.
What?
And he stayed there overnight for 16 hours.
What?
And froze to death.
So he's being stowed below,
Yeah.
as that size beast should be. Mm-hmm. But there's a refrigerated area, and they
It sounds like they got to
That's
O'Hare
silly.
Airport, and then they were unloading stuff, and someone grabbed Simon's cage, and he was fine. If you remember, he'd recently had a vet checkup right before his flight.
and he was, hold on,
Yep.
fit as a fiddle.
No? Close?
Fit as a Fidel.
Yeah. He was fit as a
Sorry, I
Fidel.
mispronounced that.
Yeah. Yeah, so the doctor said he was perfect health. And so someone picked him up and set him down in this freezer, and then just like walked out of the room. And Simon was just like, "Hey, sir,
At O'Hare, so
wait
it's
a
not as
minute."
if he flew across the pond in some frozen situation. It was
No.
at O'Hare.
Yeah.
And so nobody's there to pick him up for 16 hours? Or they're...
I guess.
Dude,
yeah.
poor little Simon.
I don't. There's some
Poor big
debate.
Simon.
Yeah. There's some debate about what went on though, because
I
she's
blame
from-
the handler. I
Yeah.
blame the handler. He made it
Well,
safely to O'Hare.
he did.
There should have been objection raised at that moment. Where is my bunny rabbit?
And there's some finger pointing going on, like, "Hey, man, we've got a team called Pet Care or something that handles our in-flight pets, and they stow them and they take care of them, blah blah blah." That's kind of United's angle, like, dude, we've got this group, and
Oh, the third-party operator. They're saying, like, hey, that's not our
sort
deal.
of. And then I just don't know that it's like you've seen those baggage handlers, the guy that pulls up with that weird
Shucking shit.
It looks like a magician's box that's empty, and they just chuck shit in there.
Yeah.
If you're counting on that guy to like grab all the stowed stuff, he's wearing his like fluorescent orange and yellow, tank
So a
top.
plane doesn't suck him into an engine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If that guy just like set him down, like, "Oh, yeah, you go over here, and he's just chucking stuff, like that sucks. If you're relying on that dude to give a shit about your bun. So anyway, Brian Bergdahl is a farmland
Any relation?
to Bo. You mean? I don't think so. I haven't heard that. But he's an investment manager, and he said he bought the bun for his boss.
I thought this was a megastar.
I know. He'd hoped to show Simon at the Iowa State Fair. He's driving from Kansas City to get the bun when he gets a phone call. Yeah, this is United Airlines, and yep, you might want to turn around now. Simon is no longer with us.
The good news, Mike?
Man.
A hell of a lot of Hassenpfeffer.
What's Hassan?
What's Hassenpfeffer?
I knew you were gonna do that.
Hassenpfeffer!
Oh,
Come
from
on,
Bugs
dude.
Bunny?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes a huge fucking pot of Hassenpfeffer.
Yeah, it does. I wouldn't want to eat Simon.
So were they like, "Sir, your Hassenpfeffer is here," and he's like, "Hold on, I wanted a live bun."
No, we've got it frozen for you, so it should be good as long as you plan to eat it in the next week, or you want to keep it frozen if you're going to store it for a few months. And he's like, "Wait a minute, what?
What?
What? Where's my bun?" So he drives there, and he's like, "At first I didn't believe it. We'd built a pen and had all these toys for him to play with."
Where does the megastar come into this?
Well, okay. That's what they said to us. We didn't make that up.
No.
That was the reports. This is a megastar. We can't even say his name. It's so big. Edwards, let's see. Mr. Berg, let's see. Simon's new owner. Let's see. Where did they say it? They did say it.
Bergdahl's reporting to who? Whom?
Yeah, they did say. Hold on.
It was such a big star that you've got to find the name because you
Yeah.
don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't.
Wow.
I thought I highlighted it, but apparently I didn't. It was such a memorable name that I didn't even highlight it. Oh, man. I'll just say this. It was no one you've ever heard of
Clearly.
at all. God damn it.
Bob Johnson. We'll call him Bob Johnson.
We'll call him Bob Johnson. Yeah. So so she starts calling, going, "Where's Simon? Where's Simon?" And they're like, "Yeah, he died. It's crazy. He died. He's no longer with us." And so she's like, "I want his body back." And they're like, "Well, he froze to death," and they wouldn't return her calls. They wouldn't
She
return
wanted
calls.
to extract the sperm, didn't she?
Maybe.
She's
Or-
looking at a breeding situation. I don't blame her.
Remember the feet. We talked about
The feet,
Yeah,
the
lots of luck.
Hassenpfeffer.
Yeah.
Cook, where's my Hassenpfeffer?
And so finally, she's like, "Okay, where's my bun? I want him autopsied in Britain. I want to bring him home and have him autopsied. I don't trust you fuckers." And they're like, "Oh, we'd love to do that, but shit, we cremated him." Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, would you like his ashes in a jar or something? And she's like, "You motherfuckers." So she's livid with them.
Sure.
So apparently, what do you think Simon cost? Like a live one. Not the dead one. Obviously, there's not much value there except for maybe the rabbit's feet.
But
But
didn't you just tell us?
what?
Did I imagine that? You said 5 figures or no?
Well, that's what they got. That's what she apparently got, and she's not allowed to discuss
now I
it. So we
gotcha.
don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like, this kind of hush money. Go away. We'll give you 5
So
figures.
what's it cost?
Yeah, live.
Like I said, I bought one for $12, but I mean, this guy's apparently a purebred and comes from a fine sire of Darius. Let's see,
500.
5,000.
$530.
Bam.
He is all over the market value of bunny rabbits.
However, for the cost of that $530 rabbit, it cost this guy $1,800 to fly it to America. Now, I did find the guy's name.
Okay.
And I'm sure you guys will know who this is. But Mr. Bergdahl said he tracked down the breeder and bought the rabbit for his boss. For his boss, major megastar, Steve Brewer, who owns a farm real estate company in Des Moines, Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
A suburb of Clive, Iowa.
Iowa. Steve Brewer.
When he said
Steve
Iowa,
Brewer.
I'm thinking, okay, is there a huge like Hawkeye that we
Yeah.
don't know, or Tom Arnold?
Like Chuck Long or something.
Yeah,
right?
there you go. Chuck Long would have been good. Tom
Hayden
Arnold?
Fry.
Yeah. But no, it's even bigger than that. It's Steve Brewer.
Wow.
Now, Simon's new owner,
you
Mr.
know how
Brewer,
powerful he is.
megastar, is expected to sue because he paid, he paid $1,800 for Simon's flight. He paid like $250 for a vet visit, and then he also paid for Simon. It was $530. So he's expected to sue. So this is going to cost them a lot.
Well, did you hear United CEO yesterday falling on the sword?
Was he in front of Congress?
He was, but
Like-
prior to that, he read this big, long statement to the public,
Yeah.
contrite as hell. We will do better. We have to do better, that whole thing.
Yeah, of course.
We will not beat up our passengers.
No, dude. The fact is, your actual thoughts on the thing were made crystal clear
Yeah.
the very first statement you made. Everyone saw the same video. You saw it too, and that was what you really felt like.
Isn't that funny?
Dude,
That's what's in this situation. That's an interesting fact to have had his real thought right after.
And I think
then we
three
hear
times.
then we hear his thoughts as the shit gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
It turns into corporate speak.
Dude, I can't watch. It's almost funny watching when I heard he was going to go in front of Congress. It's like, okay, here we're going to get the whole harumph, harumph, harumph. Some douchebag, 70-year-old white guy. Do you even understand the level of incompetence with your airlines? Do you even understand?
This better not just be lip service, or you'll be right back here in front of us. I think I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that.
And it's like, all right, dude, fuck off. You people that are, I represent the public and I've got a duty to do.
Well,
it is my honor. and
Congress is on
service.
it. All right. Woo.
Yeah.
Well,
Somebody on the news said something like, it's a pretty bad PR day when you're getting harangued by Congress for customer service.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? It's like the worst
Exactly.
fucking customer service
It
on the
takes
planet.
6 months off a year. Speaking of Congress, some stuff going on today, and I don't know if you saw this, but Hillary Clinton finally, Jay, falling on the sword.
Yeah, admitting all her faults for sure,
Yeah.
telling us exactly
the
how
fact that
she
she's
failed.
not human and whatnot, or that.
Well,
that didn't come up.
It seems like the only time you see her now is at a pussy hat rally or a woman's X club. She's international, woman on woman thing. She's always speaking at some luncheon for chicks. It's like, okay.
Well, that's her
we're-
only identity, though, and that was the big failure of the campaign. Is she didn't
know.
have a message other than I'm a woman and it's
Yeah.
my turn, so elect me.
Yeah, she just didn't see that coming. And we talked about this a long time ago, where for her, the whole I'm with her thing, and like, I'm a woman, wouldn't this be great to break this glass ceiling? And the fact is that young voters have grown up in a world where women are very powerful. Women are CEOs. They own companies. They are equal with their husbands.
Yeah, she missed that wave when Obama wrote it in as the minority.
Yeah, there's
Like,
nobody.
the country was poised to support a minority there,
Right.
and he
And-
rode that wave hard.
And while it'll be cool if the right woman comes along and breaks that glass ceiling,
It
whatever.
will absolutely eventually happen.
There's nobody in this country who thinks, well, that'll never happen. Why would you put a woman in charge? Like, nobody. Everybody understands. Like, dude, yeah, we're at a time and it's going to happen. It's just got to be the right person. And so that was the thing that I really, really, really hated about Hillary. Where it was like, don't play the Vagine card. Don't act like it's my duty to vote for you so we can break this bullshit glass ceiling. Stop it. If you're the right woman for the job, awesome. If you're the right gay guy for the job, awesome. If you're the right whatever for the job, awesome.
Shamali, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Well, that'd be a weird one, but never mind. So she went up and was like, "Listen, I want to be very clear. This is on me. Publicly taking the blame for the first time, and I'll quote her here. I take absolute personal responsibility. I was the candidate, and I am the person on the ballot.
But-
I am very aware of the challenges, the problems, the shortfalls that I had.
But
Well,
It wasn't my fault.
There's not a but. I mean, she just said, it's absolutely her fault. She takes all the responsibility. The buck stops with me. Oh, wait, shit. But, yeah, there is a but. Hold on, Jake. Fuck, I didn't read that.
Oh, no.
Anyway, but I was on the way to winning until a combination of Comey's letters on October 28th.
Oh, here.
Russia and WikiLeaks raised doubts in the minds of people who were inclined to vote for me, but they got scared off. She never traveled to Wisconsin. She rarely visited Michigan. She never articulated a good plan for jobs, economic
Her economic
message.
plan was, you like the economy when my husband was in. Well,
Yeah.
I'll have him involved.
Right. She couldn't overcome her extremely high negative numbers and the perception that she was out of touch with everyday people, especially when, doing these high-paid speeches that she wouldn't let us see the stuff to. So then, it's not just Russia and WikiLeaks and Comey and the whole FBI thing. It's also, within an hour of two of the Access Hollywood tape being made public, the Russian theft of Podesta's emails was dropped. And you just can't make this stuff up. So it's, their fault, too. It's also Huma's fault a little bit and Weiner as well. Asked whether misogyny had anything to do with her loss. You would expect,
absolutely.
Absolutely not. No. I mean, I don't think that had anything to do with it. People gave me a lot of chance and respect, and I was the nominee for the Democratic Party. I had a 50-50 shot with this asshole. But she speculated that, yeah, of course. If she'd become the first U.S. female president, it would have sent a powerful message. She also said that, based on history, the other thing I had stacked against me, I know everyone said there was a 98% chance I'm going to win, but it's very, very hard and unlikely for a Democrat to succeed a two-term Democrat. So, it was really a long
You were
shot.
running against Donald Trump. Holy shit. You lost.
You literally lost to the one person in the country that you could. Like, put anyone else in, like...
Dude, I don't blame her for being defensive and being like, it was all these other things. That would be really hard to lose to Donald Trump in that
Embarrassing.
situation.
Well, in our defense...
And in her defense, that shit did affect it. You cannot say that the Podesta emails had no effect. You can't say that there weren't some misogynistic assholes out there who were they're not going to vote for probably Democrat anyway.
Yeah.
They're Trump supporters through and through, probably. But yes, that stuff did affect it. Her problem was she didn't run as smart a campaign as Trump did because he went and looked at the electoral map and serviced those
relied on
places.
data.
And he serviced those places that he needed to at the last moment to pull the victories in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio.
I think that good leaders, and you see this time and time again, when you've got really powerful leaders and shit goes south, and it's not even their fault. You see companies that it's like, you know what? It stops with me, man. And if I didn't know about this X going on, this harassment of women, it's on me. And they fall on that sword. And it's not, well, Jim in accounting started it. He said it first. Well, that's not what leaders, and it seems very petty. The thing that a real leader would do in this situation, go, no, there's no excuses. I'm the ballot. On the ballot is my name, and I'm in charge of my team. And if we didn't read the stuff right, that's me. I should have seen that. And it's 100% my fault.
Well, according to the authors of that new book, I think it's Shattered.
Yeah.
That really picks apart the campaign. That is exactly the problem. She had an inability to look inward and realize her faults. Everybody was afraid to say anything. If you did, you signed your own death warrant. You're out the door for sure.
And the fact is, if you've followed Hillary at all through her life, and we've talked about this plenty, there are countless accounts of her being a absolute monster to be around, belittling policemen, and absolutely no respect for military members. Horror stories that don't just, like, where there's smoke, there's fire. These go back to her days with
The
Bill.
retards.
Just, an inability to connect with people below her, thought people were below her, and was very belittling to people on her staff. That sort of stuff is that's what I look at. I don't give a shit about Podesta's emails. All that showed is you were fucking over Bernie Sanders. I just don't think that had as much play as people want to say as far as Trump. Trump was it was a
super
negative, flawed candidate. It doesn't help.
It was a negative. It didn't help her, is my point. I can't. nobody
Yeah.
can sit there and pick apart the votes and figure out what it was. But I don't blame her for pointing to some of those factors. It's unquestionable that Comey's letter didn't help her.
Yeah.
That was hugely damaging. Comey was actually in front of Congress today as a
Yeah.
committee makes some findings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in front of
What is he there for? What are they?
It's the Senate Judiciary Committee looking into, this is the bipartisan committee with
Well, sure.
engaging in the full and fair investigation that we've been promised as American people.
I will have no other committee. But
Yeah, he
bipartisan.
said it makes him mildly nauseous to think the Bureau might have influenced the 2016 presidential election, responding to questions from members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. We might have had some impact on the election, but honestly, it wouldn't change the decision, he said. Senator Dianne Feinstein asked Comey about his decision to send the letter on October 28th. So, God, that was so close in time to the
Yeah,
election.
November
Fuck.
8th.
Notifying lawmakers that the FBI was going to investigate emails possibly related to Hillary Clinton that were found during an unrelated investigation, of course, Weiner's computer.
Yeah.
He said, I've lived my entire career by the tradition that if you can possibly avoid it, you avoid any action in a run-up to an election that might have an impact, whether it's a dog catcher election or president of the United States. But I sat there that morning, and I could not see a door labeled no action here, Comey said. I could see two doors. One was labeled speak, the other was labeled conceal.
Yeah.
He went on, concealing, in my view, would be catastrophic, not just to the FBI, but well beyond.
I feel bad for the position he was in because I understand that where he was because he spoke out about.
Well, that was his problem. People were pissed that he spoke out.
I
And
know.
Put that marker in the sand and said, nope, we don't see anything here with our emails.
Yeah.
So
He started it.
Yeah, he got himself painted in the corner. And
Yeah.
as virtuous as he wants to be, and I read a recent Vanity Fair article about him, and that's the MO, everybody, their takeaway on this dude is he absolutely wants everybody to think that he's completely virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
So in every decision he's making, he's thinking about how does this look? Does this make me look like I'm doing the virtuous thing here?
Yeah.
I don't want to look like I'm taking sides.
Well, you can understand. Like at the time, they didn't know what was in these emails, and there was stuff that was like, ugh, red flags going off. Now imagine if there was really, really sensitive shit in there that was bad.
Oh, yeah.
If you flip that, and then it comes out after the election that this is really bad, not good, and people go, "You fucking knew this before the election, and you didn't say anything to us."
But again,
They-
he painted himself in
they
that corner because he
kill
came out
him.
in July or whatever, where he was like, "Yep, I just want to show up here and say that we're done with our investigation." Like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It was ridiculous. And the other fact is, the Obama administration actually had something to do with that because if you remember, Comey didn't trust. He did not trust that they were capable.
Right.
Loretta Lynch was capable of looking with an unbiased eye at some of this stuff. And so that's why he was like, dude, I'm seeing too many things here that show that they're not capable of really not favoring something and being able to kind of like, oh, well, we'll look the other way on that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, dude, with these things that I know, here's what I'm going against protocol to do this in the hopes that people will see that I'm being as forthcoming as I can and honest as I can. And, I see it both ways too, though.
God,
I do.
Love to see those missing emails. Have our friends from Russia brought those up yet?
No, not yet. I know Maxine Waters is calling for him to be impeached for some reason.
Impeach 45!
Yeah, there's a whole push for impeach 45. And
For what?
I don't know, but in case there was something with Russia, I don't know.
Got to
Just
tell you
show me
about
a
the
little
Hamlin
evidence.
Pub.
If there is, great. I'm
Sure.
all for it. Fucking
Again,
impeaches
I don't
us.
want the Ruskies running our country.
Hell no.
If he was dabbling in some bullshit, I want to know about
Dude,
it.
if Vladimir Putin is, running shit from Moscow and he's like trying to put together our healthcare system, it's infuriating.
Mike, and our tax system.
Oh,
the whole
holding
thing.
up the whole wall progress we've been working so hard on. Shit. Vlad doesn't give a shit if we have a southern border wall.
Got to tell you about the Hamlin Pub. They have 5 locations: Clarkston, Chesterfield, Rochester, and 2 in Shelby Township. Hamlin Pub offers a wide selection of craft beers, most of which are brewed right here in Michigan. They have great happy hour specials Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m., and half-off appetizers on Monday. Check out all their specials at all 5 locations. Check out hamlinpubs.com for more info. Moreover, Mark Leibovitz, our buddy Mark, he has 16 years of institutional investment experience, including being a senior portfolio manager on a mutual fund. That's big shit, gentlemen. His background is in investments, not sales. Let him use his experience to build an investment plan for you. Call Mark Leibovitz at LPL Financial at 248-626-2000. Ask for Mark.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
2 out of 3 of us absolutely have called Mark and have a bunch of money with him. 3 out of 3 of us would if the third had any money. Is that correct, E?
Yeah. Oh, of course.
You can confirm that?
I can't wait to finally be a guy who can talk about my investments.
Yeah, it's coming.
Check your
That
pocket
is
watch.
coming.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
soon as you get that sugar
So,
mama, you'll be
how's
able to
the
do
market
that.
doing today? Good? Excellent.
Well, the quite well.
You'll be the Melinda Gates to some fine bill someday.
I hope so.
Hey, the StacyFineArt.com contest is going well. I'm going to leave it open over the weekend so you guys can keep chiming in with the link to TDC on that site. And, of course, if you find that, email it to me at j@detroitcast.com. Email me the link, and I'll put you in a drawing for some TDC merchandise.
Ah, cool.
Members area. Here's a mention of the members area. Glad to hear Bone Job is in. Bone
Oh.
Job apparently was on the outs.
Fucking slow down,
I
Bone
know.
Job. What the
Well,
hell's that
listen,
about?
Listen,
All
he's
right,
got a
fine.
damn good excuse.
It's E, isn't it?
No, it's
Shit.
worse than that. Hey, guys.
Worse.
Yeah. Hey, guys, when you announced the members area, I was excited. The very next week, I lost my job.
Oh, man.
Damn it, Bone Job.
Boner. Boner, please, Boner. Boner, please. Please, Boner.
It is pain
What did
me.
he do? Do we know what he did? Was he caught, like, whacking off in front of a manager or something?
Sure,
Or
I'm almost certain of it.
I mean, named Boner. You would think something.
Dude, he was like taking pictures of fidgets in the wild for us on company time. and all
Don't tell
that.
me his fidget picture-taking habit got him in trouble.
I don't know that for sure, but dude, he's like sitting in a conference room, like, you know,
Well-
taking pictures waist level.
Since he didn't tell us, it's just on us to speculate. So I'm going with he was caught jacking off at his desk when his boss walked in. Until told otherwise, I have no reason to believe that's not what happened.
I'm going. He tried to blow dart a fidget.
That's not bad. E?
Damn, I don't know.
Tried to take down a coworker fidget with a blow dart.
Yeah, sure.
Caught with a net in his car and everything.
Some with his dick. I don't know.
Oh, good one. Way to
Well-
be creative, E.
Boner adds, the very next week, I lost my job. It has pained me listening to all the stuff I was missing in the members area that I couldn't be a part of. Finally, I have a new job that I love. Good for you, Boner. And I'm finally able to subscribe. So far, I'm loving it. Listening to the time Big E-Tard almost left the show, and all I can think of is how close we actually were to getting rid of that loser. Still provides nothing and is a huge piece of shit.
Huge.
With love, Bone
Wrong. Oh, welcome back into the family.
Job. Mike,
Boner, please, Boner, please. Boner, please.
We've gone long. We'll save the rest for tomorrow.
Sounds good. E. Job today, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck tonight. If you're listening live, today
Godspeed,
is
sir.
technically Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017. Big E's got his first time really performing at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. He'll be part of the comics up there this evening. Tickets, I think, are $5. Call and make a reservation. We'd love to see some of you guys out there supporting him for this big show. 248-542-9900.
I predict it will go spectacularly well or spectacularly bad. So
Wow.
either way,
Yeah,
you
well.
want to be there.
Yeah, and we all win with either of those outcomes.
Either way is fine. Flip
Yep.
a coin for me.
Dude.
I don't really care.
If we spend 20 minutes just laughing at him tomorrow, that's dream. Honestly, that's a dream going into a weekend. So good luck, E.
Thank you.
And I guess, yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow. So we'll talk to you then.
You've been listening to the Detroit Cast with your hosts, Mike and Jay. From all of us at Radio for One Studios, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you, Detroit.